it's just laying there. So. Test.
Testing.
Working.
How's that work? Oh, yay.
We're live.
Test.
Okay, good. I think everyone's working. Wait for Mr. Morrison to get back. You ready to roll? Okay, apologize for the few minutes delay as with technical difficulties. Mayor Fowler's out this evening, so you all are stuck with me. As with any meeting, we've got the invocation and pledge. I've asked Mr. Graves to do our invocation and Mr. Bilbrey to conduct our pledge. Thank you all. Do a roll call, Ms. Flatt.
Honorable Mayor Fowler, Honorable Councilman Bilbrey,
Present.
Honorable Councilman Graves,
Present.
Honorable Councilwoman Hawkins,
Present.
Honorable Vice Mayor Hill.
Present. We've got an agenda before us. I think there was one amendment. If Mr. Morrison, you want to speak to a late addition?
So we were talking last night. We had $180,000 and then another $100,000 to do a brush truck and a tandem axle dump truck. We do not feel the tandem axle dump truck is necessity, so we're going to revert that money over to trying to fill the brush truck slot. So we're working on the options right now to check the current chassis that we were going to upfit versus just purchasing a whole new truck and what availability is. So we're exercising those to see which option's going to work. One of the requests we made last night is we're having issues with the meter reading vehicle. The John Deere Gator we were using just isn't holding up to the number of stops. When you're talking about reading a route 500 or 600 stops in a day, it's a lot of activity for it, and it just can't handle that much stop and go and get in and out. So we're going to need a meter reader truck. So we called Ford to see what availability would be on a Ford Ranger. He does have some on the lot that would be available for purchase, and so I pulled the 2023 state bid prices. And the most expensive Ford Ranger on the lot that they list for 2023 is a Crew Cab XLT 4x4, and it is $34,621. So I think $35,000 should cover it because I don't think that's going to be the truck that they have on the lot. Most of the time they're an XL version, and that would give us probably a Crew Cab 4x4 Ford Ranger to read the route with, which would be a smaller truck. The bigger trucks, the F-150s, are harder to come by, but he did have this Ranger on the lot, so he was getting me a price on it. And this would be a state purchase, state bid purchase price.
We'll add that as item number 7. Anybody want to give a motion to approve the agenda? Mr. Bilbrey.
Second.
Ms. Hawkins.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. So we have an agenda. How about some minutes? You all have had the minutes provided by Keith.
Second.
No objections. I'll take a motion.
I make the motion.
Second.
A motion and second. Any other discussion? Ms. Flatt?
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. Agenda and minutes are approved. Item number 3, consider approval to suspend reading of ordinances 694-22, 695-22, and 696-22. This is just to suspend reading. Take a motion.
Make the motion.
Mr. Bilbrey.
Second.
Motion and second by Ms. Hawkins. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Flatt?
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins. Yes. Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. That's number 3 is approved. Suspended reading. Number 4, the floor will now be open for second and final reading of ordinance 694-22. Consider approval of second and final reading of ordinance 694, adopting wine in retail food stores by adding chapter 4 to the municipal code, title 8. Mr. Morrison, take it away.
This is an ordinance that Ms. Flatt put together based on the state requirement for us to pass to have a municipal code that addresses wine in retail food stores. That was on the ballot and approved by the citizens of All Good, so it passed the voting of the citizens of All Good. So this is just honoring their wish to have it in our codes so that retail stores that meet the minimum requirements will be allowed to sell food. One change that we did make to the version of this ordinance that we put out in the public was it had the listing for a public hearing when it was advertised, which was December the 30th, but did not have the listing for when the public hearing was actually held, which is tonight. So we do list that in the ordinance. So it does say now that a public hearing was held as required by Tennessee Code, annotated by the All Good Mayor and City Council on January the 10th, 2023. So it does require public hearing, which is what we're doing right now.
Thanks, sir. At this point in time, we'll open the floor for any comments, concerns, any discussion. Good evening.
Hello,
Hello.
my name's Linda Bilbrey. I would like for you all to start thinking now about putting lighted Christmas ornaments on the poles as opposed to what we have. I don't know what process you have to go through. I just know you guys don't move real fast. So this is January, so hopefully by December we could have those. And I don't know what would have to happen as far as the poles and the electricity, etc. But I would like to see lighted decorations on our poles through our towns. I mean, at Christmas, I feel like guys has lighted. So will you write that down, Keith, and not forget it? Okay, thank you.
Keith has scribbled. Thank you for your comment. Any other comments? Going once, going twice. I'll close that portion of the meeting. Floor is now closed. Is there a motion to adopt? Mr. Bilbrey.
Second.
Ms. Hawkins. That's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? None. Flat.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins. Yes. Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. Item 4 is approved. Moving on to item 5, the floor is now be open for second and final reading of ordinance 695-22 to consider and approve second and final reading of ordinance 695-22 to rewrite building permit expiration in the all good zoning ordinance. Mouthful. Mr. Morrison.
So this is a change to the All Good Zoning Ordinance. Currently, the All Good Zoning Ordinance listed expiration dates for building permits. What we are changing this to is in the zoning ordinance, it will now only reference that the ordinance pertaining to building permit expirations will be maintained in the city recorder's office, and those are in conjunction with international building codes. So it's just moving the language out of the zoning ordinance and redirecting them to the city recorder's office to find the actual ordinance that controls those. The zoning ordinance can't control them, so it's just redirecting them to the correct location to find them.
Thank you, sir. Another technical issue. We will wait. We are falling apart. Did we? Running out of batteries. Right. Mayor Fowler just didn't want this meeting to run smoothly, so she got me to do it. Thank you, sir. At this point in time, we'll close this portion of the meeting. Open the floor to any discussion, comment, concern regarding ordinance 695-22. Seeing no comment, I'll close that portion and entertain a motion to approve.
Make the motion.
Mr. Bilbrey again.
Second.
Ms. Hawkins on the second. Any other discussion, comments? Seeing none? Ann?
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins. Yes. Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. Item number 5 is approved. Item number 6. Let's do it one more time. The floor will now be open for second and final reading of ordinance 696-22. Consider a second and final reading of that ordinance, amending the fiscal year 22-23 budget passed by ordinance 684-22. Ms. Flatt, I believe this is the one you gave us kind of an updated one on that had a minor change at the bottom, but it was nothing sub.
Third expense in the line item,
Mr. Morrison, you want to speak to that?
261. It should say 41,500, 266. We're increasing two revenues. One is court fees that's covering some of our expenses with our e-ticket software. The second's a miscellaneous general income, miscellaneous revenue, $5,000 truck repair, and a $5,000 First Freedom donation. And then in the expenses for 261 was the $5,000 repair to the vehicle, a $3,000 data equipment for e-ticket upgrade, a $12,000 phone system upgrade, and a $5,000 ADA playground compliant equipment. So those were $25,000 in revenue and $25,000 in expense. I do have one additional request. I got a bill today, and the insurance has already been billed. The truck repair went from $5,000 to $6,000. So there'll be a revenue of $6,000 and an expense of $6,000. So if we could modify in the revenue $37,199 to $11,000 for a total revenue of $26,000, and the first line in expense for $41,500, $261 instead of a $5,000 expense, it should be a $6,000 expense for $26,000 expense. So it's just a $1,000 increase on both sides.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. I'll take a motion to approve.
Make a motion we approve.
Mr. Bilbrey?
Second.
Ms. Hawkins on the second. Any other discussion? Yeah, good point. Great point. Thank you, Mr. Rader. So again, this is a motion to approve the ordinance with the amendment, the additional $1,000 to general fund revenue 37199 increase from 10 to 11, and the expense line of just 261 from 5,000 to 6,000. So there was motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Flatt.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins. Yes. Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. Item number 6 is approved. Item number 7, the amended item to consider approval to purchase a Ford Ranger for meter reading purposes. We heard from Keith the need for the item. Any discussion, questions, comments? I'd ask just, is this an item just for, so what happened to our current meter reading situation?
So currently we're using the John Deere Gator. It just can't keep up. We're continually having to put new parking brakes, and we've had to rebuild the CVT transmission on it already. We're talking about 500-600 stops a day, and we've had it for 5 years. So we're reading 3,900 meters. Easy to get off the road. It doesn't take up start and stop. But it just can't hold up to that continual stopping and go. So what we're looking at is a state bid Ford Ranger, not to exceed $35,000. I think it's going to be closer to probably $32,000 that we would transfer in to do meter reading, and then we'll move the Gator to Parks and Recreation and still use it for the parade and events and things like that, rail trail maintenance, stuff that doesn't require it to stop and go as much.
Is it close to end of life, or are we Is it just because it's just not built for what we're
I
using
think
it
it's
for?
just not built for what we're using it for, and we're having to repair it a lot. I think if we move it to Parks and Rec and it's not stop and go 500 times a day, that it's probably going to be okay. If we see that it's not going to be okay, we'll just come back and ask you to surplus it. But we don't feel it's end of life at this point.
Thank you, sir.
I think you stated that this was the most expensive one they had.
Yeah, that would be the most expensive, and I don't anticipate it being that model. That would be the XLT. I'm thinking it's going to be one of the $33,000 models, depending on how the prices have changed. This is an old price sheet, but I think it's consistent enough to get us into the vehicle. He was supposed to get me a quote today on what he had on the lot, and he just didn't get it to me.
Yeah, I guess the question I'm asking are, if if there's more than one model or type within the Ranger category, what the other prices were.
Okay. So for a super cab 4x2, they start out at $26,352. For a super cab 4x4 is $30,450. Now these may be old prices because I've had these for a while, but this is what 2023s were supposed to be. A crew cab XL 4x2, $28,368. A crew cab XL 4x4, $32,465. A super cab 4x2 XLT, $28,914. A super cab 4x4 XLT, $32,832. A crew cab XLT 4x2, $30,704, and a crew cab XLT 4x4, $34,621. So they range from $26,352 to $34,621. But he didn't tell me exactly which one he had on the lot. He just said, "Yeah, I've got a Ranger on the lot. I'll have to figure out which one and get you the price."
Do you know for sure that this is a smaller truck? Just because it says Ranger, physically it could be almost as big as some F-150s.
Yeah, it could be. The Ranger is supposed to be the smaller of the two. I don't know exactly what the size comparison is, but it's supposed to be the smaller truck. And it only has the 2.3 liter engine in it, so it would have to be smaller than the F-150.
All of them have the same engine.
Oh, yeah. Everyone has the 2.3 liter. Typically on a mission. XL model, not the XLT, because that's what we order on the F-150s. And so if you go to an F-150 crew cab like we bought the last time, those are $41,771. Now that's stripped. That doesn't have anything on it. That's just the truck. But that's how much it is. So these are $7,000 cheaper, even at the highest model.
Now, I guess what I'm getting at is, do we need the highest priced one, or
No, I'm going to try to get.
Is there something under that that's almost identical for $4,000 or $5,000 less?
If the XL is available and cheaper, that's the one we're going to take. But I don't know what he's got on the lot. If all he has is the XLT, are we okay with that?
Okay.
If he's got the XL, we're definitely going to take it. But I do want to try to get a 4x4 because that makes more sense. When we have bad weather, we can still read meters and do things. Now, I was just saying that price of the $35,000 is the worst case scenario. We're definitely going to try for the cheaper one.
And it's needed this month. What's your current? The current one's broke down, and
Well, I just called today, and he just said, "I've got one available on the lot right now," and we just don't know how long that will last. So I thought we'd go ahead and try to do it. So here's the other status too. For while we're talking about it, I'm gonna steal the chief's thunder. The police, we called about the police interceptors and all of them, and just see what availability of vehicles are. Our police interceptors have come in. They're waiting on the light package and the striping package, so they're down there. So we're expecting to issue that PO in the next few days and see what the return on the cars we're going to trade in are. While I had him on the phone, I just went ahead and asked what the delivery timeline was for a Ford Ranger if I was to order one. He said, "Well, I've got one on the lot right now that I could sell you if you want it." So he's working that quote up right now.
Thank you.
And the 2 vehicles for chief are the 2 that we approved last month. Thanks.
Those are so 23 models,
So
and then
you're-
we'll do
you-
a trade-in.
That was the question mark. Glad we could get those. Anyone else?
I make the motion, we purchase a Ford Ranger for a meter reading truck, total amount $35,000.
There's a motion.
Second.
Ms. Hawkins seconds. Any other discussion, comments, questions? Hearing none. Ms. Flatt?
Honorable Bilbrey.
Yes.
Honorable Graves.
Yes.
Hawkins. Yes. Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. Item number 7 is approved. Nothing left on my agenda. Turn it over to Keith for City Administrator's report.
City Hall will be closed January the 16th, 2023, in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. All residential trash routes will run on schedule, so there will not be any at available due to that being a Monday. Department heads, do you have anything? That concludes our report.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Last but not least, we open at the end of each meeting. We open the floor up to any hearing of citizens or delegations that may want to come forward and bring items to our attention. Going once, going twice. None. That is the final item on the agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn? And I'll second that. All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all for attending. Next meeting is when, Mr. Morrison?
February 14th, 2023. Bring your Valentine's Day.
Bring your candy. Thank you all.